Hi, I got a chance to check your homework and I noticed that you had problems for number 7 through 9. So I'm just going to do number 7 as an example to show you how to do the problem. All right, so they stated that E was the midpoint of DF. Oops, DF. All right, so for number 7, they gave the coordinate points for E. So I'm going to write that, which was 4, 3. And they gave the points for K. That's supposed to be an F. So I'm going to put that F because since we're dealing with this segment, then that should have been an F, not a K. So that one was 5, 8. So that means we need to find the endpoint, which I'm going to label X2 and X1. And why do I do that? So let me change this. So if E is the midpoint, so I'm going to put midpoint. So the midpoint will have the coordinates X, Y. This is an endpoint. F is one of the endpoints and so is D. So for F, it will have X1 and Y1. And I already had D, which I am looking for, which is X2, Y2. Okay, there's nothing new that you have to use. It's basically using the midpoint formula. So we know that it is M equals, and the midpoint will have these coordinate X, Y, and you're using X1 plus X2 over 2, and Y1 plus Y2 over 2. Put that as the whole thing. All right, so basically you're using this formula with the given information that they gave you. So let's say in order to do this separately, you could do like this. You're trying to, you have the X coordinate for the midpoint. That will equal X1 plus X2 over 2. And for Y, the Y coordinate for the midpoint will equal Y1 plus Y2 over 2. So basically what I just did was I took this formula and I split it into 2 sections, where I'm going to use it for the X coordinate and then where I'm going to use it for the Y coordinates. So based on what I have here, what I've labeled, my X for that midpoint is 4, and my X1 is 5, and I'm looking for X2 for that endpoint, for point D. And if I did the same thing for the Y, oops, it would be the Y is 3, that's the midpoint coordinate. Y1 is 8, and I'm looking for Y2. All right, so now I'm going to solve for X2 and Y2. So basically, I'm going to be cross multiplying. I could cross multiply, or I am multiplying 2 to both sides so I can cancel this out. I get 8 and 5 plus X2. Then I subtract 5 on both sides. So that will give me X2 equals 3. For Y2, multiplying this by 2 on both sides, this will cancel out because it's in top and bottom. This you multiply will be 6 equals 8 plus Y2. And since I'm solving for Y2, I'm going to subtract 8 on both sides. So that will give me negative 2. So my final answer for the endpoint D will be, so this is point D, will be 3, negative 2. So you're not adding anything extra. You're just using the midpoint. Since you're working in 2 dimensions, you're using the midpoint formula, and you just plug in the information they gave you. If they say that if a certain point is a midpoint, you know it's going to have X, it's going to be XY. And the endpoints are x1, y1, x2, y2. So when you have all that information, you basically just split it up for x and your y's, plug in the information, and then you solve for your midpoint. For your endpoint. And your endpoint needs to be in the coordinate form because it's a point that would be on a graph. All right, hopefully this helps you to do number 8 and number 9. If you have any other questions, feel free to email me. All right.